The Ramah quotes in the Darkei Moshe a minhag on Erev Yom Kippur. That would be Tuesday morning for the record. The Yesh Omrim that the minhag of going to the mikvah on Erev Yom Kippur. So we know all year round some Hasidim go daily, some go Erev Shabbos, but the only minhag brought down in the Shulchan Aruch is to go to the mikvah on Erev Yom Kippur. Yes, many extend it to Rosh Hashanah, Yom HaNorah, but in the Shulchan Aruch, they only bring down Erev Yom Kippur. So why do people go to the mikvah all year round? And secondly, so why, if it's only a minhag, so why bring it down for Erev Yom Kippur? I don't have to go Erev Yom Kippur either. So what's the difference between Erev Yom Kippur versus all year round? So why do people go to the mikvah all year round? I'm talking about men, not women. Women is the difference here why they go to the mikvah. But why do men go to the mikvah? So it's a Gemara in Brachas. The Gemara talks about a takana they made for the Baal Keri. Someone had an omission, so there used to be an old takana that until you went to the mikvah, you weren't permitted to learn Torah or tefillah or daven. The Gemara in Brachas. And then they repealed the Gzeira.
What was the reason for the Gzeira? I mean, what were they trying to prevent? Or?
You probably Al-Tahara, learning, tefillah when you're davening and you're learning, so you should be b'tahara, not b'tuma. So and then they repealed the Gzeira. The Gemara says it was repealed. So the shaila is what was repealed. So that's the famous machlokas Rambam and the Ravid in terms of what was repealed or not. So some say that the Torah, you're allowed to, everyone agreed Torah you're allowed to learn even if you're a Baal Keri. But the Ravid says by Tefillah the minhag continued that you have to learn until that you can't learn until you can't daven until you go to the mikvah. And others say no, everything was repealed. That you don't have to go to the mikvah for davening or for tefillah. So, and that's the way we assume halacha, that we assume it was repealed for both davening and tefillah. That's why one does not have to go to the mikvah on a daily or weekly basis. We assume that takana doesn't apply anymore. The Hasidim are machmir, so they go with the shita. The machmir, that even for tefillah, they go ahead and they go to the mikveh every time before they daven. But
for that specific reason?
Yeah, that's what the Minhagim say the Hasidim. Hasidim might have other Tosefes Kedusha, you could have different reasons why, but halachically that would make sense. That's why if you're going, that's what you should be going for, but there's the union of Tosefes Kedushin, I'm sure other reasons. But so the question, so the only one brought down was Erev Yom Kippur. So why did Erev Yom Kippur? So some say, all year round the halach is we passing, you don't have to go, but at least for Erev Yom Kippur we will be machmir like that shita, and therefore we'll go to the mikvah on Erev Yom Kippur so we can end up Yom Kippur, so we won't be a Baal Keri when we show up on Yom. So that's what someone explained. Why does the Shulchan Aruch only bring it down on Erev Yom Kippur? If you have to go, you have to go every day or every week. So really, we pass you don't have to go. Even Erev Yom Kippur, strictly speaking, you don't have to go. But the minhag's brought down in Shulchan Aruch that you should go Erev Yom Kippur. I guess it's part of the whole Aseret Shemei Tshuva to take on things maybe you don't do all year round. So if it's another thing besides if you take on Pas Yisrael and Chol Yisrael, other things you might take on, it's another thing you take on. However, the Ramah in the Darkei Moshe brings down that's not the reason for Keri. So he brings down V'yesh Omrim B'tam Tefillah Zu Shel Yom Kippur Lav Mishum Shel. I mean, most assume it's Mishum Keri, but he writes it's not because of Keri. Elo Mishum Da'ade Kager HaMiskayer Tisarach Tefillah. That basically, and the way Rav Soloveitchik explains it and others is, what does it mean? We know the halach is before someone converts to Judaism, they go to the mikvah. And once you go to the mikvah, ger sheniskayer kakatan shenoladami, like a newborn baby. In other words, you're starting fresh. So that's the whole concept of tshuva. that ani acher, that even al pi halacha, a ger is considered like someone else. Biologically, you're no longer related to your sisters. That's why midrabanan they said you couldn't marry them because min Torah you're not related to anyone. So that's why the midrabanan they made different decrees. So it doesn't look right. You are a non-Jew. You're not going to do certain things. Now you become a Jew. You're going to do things you couldn't do. So halachically speaking, you have no relatives, but midrabanan they made different rules. So too, when a person goes to the mikvah on Erev Yom Kippur, it's not mitam keri, it's midin tshuva. That you like a gersh in the sky. That's how he explains. That's the whole machlokas. There's the machlokas machaba ramah regarding a kohen shaharag, a kohen that kills. You're allowed to do berkas kohanim. Can you do the work in the? So the machab is more machmir than the ramah. The ramah writes with tshuva you can. So that's what they explain. What's the pshat in the ramah? Because if a person does a tshuva, so you're like a katan shenola dam, you're a niach, you're someone else, and therefore it's no longer you, and therefore that's the whole concept of tshuva in general. You become someone else, and therefore it's no longer you. So that's the minhag for different, whatever the minhag is based on, either how it's carry. Others say it's not based on tshuva, it's based on another reason. Because Rav Sajagon even writes to make a bracha. Rav Sajagon, you make a bracha on Erev Yom Kippur, al tfilas Erev Yom Kippur. So what does he say it's based on to go to the mikvah? So the Mefarshim explained Rav Sajagon, it's based on another halacha of chayiv adam latar atzmo beregel. There used to be a din when the Beis HaMikdash was up that you always had to be matar because you used to go to the Beis HaMikdash, bring the karbanos. So before you entered the Beis HaMikdash, you had to be in a state of tahara, a full state, at different levels of tahara, but a full state. So therefore, going on Erev Yom Kippur, so even though that should also apply to the other Sholosh Regalim, and also on Yom Kippur you don't necessarily go to you weren't necessarily Ola Rego, but the Rav Sajagon brings down about, or they explain Rav Sajagon based on L'chayiv Adam Latar Atzmo Berego, and since on Yom Kippur we have a mitzvah that to be B'tar, we assume there is a mitzvah of Simcha on Yom Kippur as well. We begin the day, Arz Urel at Tzaddik. It is a day of Simcha, or be not open Simcha, because we tone it down, we don't say Hallel, because as the Rambam writes, it's not a day you may Simcha Yisera. We don't want to overdo it because it's still Yom Hadin, and it's a Gemara, it's a day of Slicha Mechila, but it's a time of joy, so they have to base on that. So different reasons, whatever the meaning is, but that's the only one. So people who go all year round certainly go Erev Yom Kippur, but there's a strong minhag among many that for the Yom Noram, those who don't go all year round, but Rosh Hashanah, if you're a man and you're only going to go to the mikvah once a year, Erev Yom Kippur would be the time. If you're going to choose a day, that's the day it should be, and many extend it to Erev Rosh Hashanah as well. So that's one minhag we have on Erev Yom Kippur, is we go to the mikvah. There's another halacha on Erev Yom Kippur. We all know on Yom Kippur we have an obligation to fast. If you didn't know, Tuesday night, Yom Kippur, you have to fast. That's why I'm giving you a couple of day warning. Start eating. So there's and in fact, they point out that's the only biblical day of the year we have to fast. We have other rabbinical fast days, Tisha B'Av, Tzom Gedalia, but the only biblical fast day is on Yom Kippur, and that's why we have a biblical mitzvah to eat Erev Yom Kippur. That's what the Gemara learns out from the pasuk in the Torah, the Gemara in Yuma, that the pasuk, if you look at the pasuk later, it says, B'Tisha Erev, it seems, if you read the pasuk later, it seems like the fast starts on the 9th day of Tishrei. But they go, a little bit, but Yom Kippur is on the 10th day. What do you mean it starts on the 9th day? So there's two drushes. One drusha the Gemara makes is, there's a halacha of Tosefes Yom HaKippurim. In other words, there's a halacha all year round we paskin that Tosefes Shabbos. We paskin every Friday night. That's the minhag of the women or whoever light candles 18 minutes before. Some places like 30 minutes before. There's a halacha, not a minhag, of bringing in Shabbos early. The Rambam doesn't mention anything about Tosefes Shabbos. If you do it, it's chal. The only place the Rambam quotes the mitzvah of Tosefes is what the Gemara talks about is Tosefes Yom HaKippurim. That's the original source. the source of Tosefes Yom Kippur or Tosefes Yontiv on the beginning and end, that comes from Yom Kippur. And that's the only place the Rambam quotes explicitly he holds the mitzvah. We assume, like other Rishonim, that Tosefes Yontiv and Tosefes Shabbos is also Doraisa. But that's one source to come. We see from here the fast starts on day 9, because you have to start the fast, and that's our minhag. We start Kol Nidre before Shkia, and we begin fasting a little bit before Yom Kippur begins, and as well, Tosefes Yom Kippur, and we go a little later. But that's the source, is this pasuk. I love it. There's another drasha the Gemara makes. And the drasha of the Gemara, what do you mean? It says you fast on the 9th. We don't fast on the 9th of Av. We fast on the 10th. The Gemara says no. So we see from here, the Gemara makes the drasha, whoever eats on the 9th of Tishrei, it's Ki'ilu is Aneh Ba'asiri, or it says even 9th and 10th. But it says the one who eats on Erev Yom Kippur, it's like you fasted on that. I guess you don't have to fast on the 10th. If you eat on, is that what we know? That's not what it means, but it sounds good anyway. But if you eat on the 9th of Tishrei, then you get credit for fasting on the. So imagine you get a double. That when you fast on the 10th, you get double credit. But either way, that's the drush of the Gemara. That, from here we learn out that din deraisa, there's a mitzvah. People know about the mitzvah of fasting on Yom Kippur, but they don't know about. They know about eating. They don't know there's a mitzvah to eat on every Yom Kippur, because some might eat anyway practically, because if I'm fasting tomorrow, I'll eat anyway. But in addition to your normal eating, there's a special mitzvah to eat on Erev Yom Kippur. In fact, many Gedolim, they say, we sell Saman to others, used to walk around like, either, I don't know if they had gum then, but sucking candies, while you used to keep food in your mouth all day, because they held every second was a mitzvah. So, and others, there's a whole discussion, why is there a mitzvah to eat? What is the eating on Erev Yom Kippur? What is the Geder Hadin, and why do we eat Erev Yom Kippur? So Rashi writes, that's the Pshuto, Haskin Atzmacha, that basically you're going to be fasting, it's a long 25-hour fast. You got to have strength to fast, so therefore it's very pragmatic. The mitzvah is that the Torah cares about your health, and the one day a year we tell you to fast, make sure you eat before, make sure you do a lot of drinking, you have your grapes or whatever the doctors tell you to eat before a fast day, things that keep you, especially if you're not, if you're someone who's not 100% well, that, make sure you have those things. And of course, Achol Sheyesh Bo Sakana, someone who is in danger and has to eat. So of course, the same way, if you're healthy, you have a mitzvah to fast on Yom Kippur. If you're unhealthy, and by not eating, you're putting your life in danger, then it's asa for you. You'll be doing an aveira on Yom Kippur by fasting. You have a chiyuv to eat. Everyone has to know their own medical condition. But so therefore, there's a mitzvah to eat on Erev Yom Kippur. So the Rashi just writes practically. Others say they call Rabbeinu Yonan, and no, it's more than just a preparation. It's kind of like the Sudas Yom Kippur. In other words, every Yontif we have to have a meal. We do have a meal, and therefore, so Erev Yom Kippur is the meal we're having on Yom Kippur. That's why, in fact, the Achronim, the Minhagim Chinech, right? Others Achronim bring down perhaps you should have Lecha Mishta at the meal on Erev Yom Kippur. Why? If it's a student, according to Rashi, you don't need Lecha Mishta. When you need Lecha Mishta, the point is, as long as you eat food in order to be able to fast. According to others, no, it's a student Yontiv, so therefore you should have Lecha Mishna. Others, there could be a Kula and a Chumrah. The Minhagim Chinech points out that if it's a din in Haskein Atzmacha, so then you have to eat. If it's just a regular din in the Sudas Yontiv, all you need is a kazayas. Again, it's a shy also. Our meaning is you have bread. The question is, do you need bread at all? Do you need a suda? And if you need a suda, so some point out the Minhagim Chinech has a chumrah. Normally, what's the shear? You have to eat a kazayas, an olive side. But he says by Erev you have to have a koseves. You have to have a bigger shear, because why? That's the shear of the prohibition on Yom Kippur, to violate the biblical prohibition of eating on Yom Kippur. The shear isn't a kazayas, the shear is a koseves kaset, a bigger shear.
What is it?
A koseves. It's a different size. In other words, it's bigger than...
Like 2 kazesim or what?
Yeah, a little bit more. It's I don't know if it's double the size, but it's a little bit more.
Oh.
It does. And they put...
Sorry, is that kabaya?
Yeah, right. That was by Birkas Hamazon. We have Kabei Kazayas. I'll get the exact announcement, but to someone to point out that that's how much you have to eat. You know, whatever's the minchas, whatever's usher on Yom Kippur, that's what you have to do on Erev Yom Kippur. So that's a discussion. But the famous shaila is, what about someone who is a chole sheyesh bo sakana on Yom Kippur and has a mitzvah to eat on Yom Kippur? What about, does that person have a mitzvah to eat Erev Yom Kippur? If you're not fasting on Yom Kippur, I mean, halachically speaking, it's also for you to fast. You have a mitzvah to eat on Yom Kippur. Do you have a mitzvah to eat on, of course, there's no issa to eat on Erev Yom Kippur, but you have so it depends. If, according to Rashi, the Nakuda is hasken atzmacha, then you don't need any strength or eating. You'll eat whatever you normally do. But if you hold it to din of a Sudas Yantiv, you can't have it on Yom Kippur, but you're eating on Erev Yom Kippur, so therefore, even though you're eating on Yom Kippur, you're not going to have, we assume, if Yom Kippur doesn't fall on top, you're not going to make Kiddush either, and that type of thing, so it's not a din in the Sudas, so then you wouldn't have the chiyuv to eat on, or someone who's not going to be fast, someone who's going to be eating on Yom Kippur would not have that. That'd be the question whether one has. If you assume it's an independent mitzvah, so that's a shaila for women. Women who are eating on Yom Kippur, it's a bigger shaila. Is eating on Erev Yom Kippur an independent mitzvah? So then they'd be patur. But if it's a dinin, you need strength in order to. It's connected to Yom Kippur. The chayiv in Yom Kippur, so then it'd be chayiv. So those are some of the minhagim of going to the mikveh Erev Yom Kippur, and the halachas of eating on Erev Yom Kippur with some, whether it's din in Suda or din in strong enough. There's a different nafkaminas on who has that mitzvah to eat and what you have to eat on Erev Yom Kippur.